Hey everybody, welcome back. Today is October 30th, 2020, and I'm here with your November 2020 Heavenly Horoscopes. These are going to be by sun sign, so it should be easy for you, but if you know your rising sign and your moon sign, I would suggest you check those first, rising, moon, and then sun. But for the sake of those that are just new to astrology, I thought I'd just focus on the sun sign. And before I go into the readings for each sign, I want to talk about some aspects that are happening. November's quite a busy month and full of heavenly activity. So the first thing I want to talk about is November 3rd, we have Mercury going direct. Most people are familiar with Mercury retrogrades. People tend to find communications going wonky, forgetting to return calls, having to, review documents to make sure they're done correctly. It also rules rational, objective thought. It rules perception and language, writing, editing, researching, speaking, teaching, telecommunications, transportations, including the United States Postal Service, and our everyday activities, including teammates, workmates, and siblings. And I say that because there's going to be quite a lot of mercurial activity this month. And Mercury will go direct on the day of the United States presidential election. When a planet goes direct, it stations first, which means it appears to stop in the sky before proceeding in the direction it's going. So it does the same thing when it goes retrograde. It stations before it goes retrograde. In that period of time when it's stationing, it is 3 times more powerful than it is in either direction. So we're going to find a lot of interesting dynamics going on November 3rd in relation to our everyday communications. And I expect there to be some confusion maybe with the presidential election, unclear results. A few weeks later, we have Mars going direct in Aries. That will be on November 14th. And again, this stationary idea shows up, meaning there's 3 times more power in Mars's energy as it moves forward in its natural sign of Aries. I want to back up a little bit because tomorrow, October 31st, we have a blue moon in Taurus, and it is conjunct, meaning it is sitting right next to the exact degree of Uranus. And I say that because it's going to have influence over the next 2 weeks, which takes us to the period where Mars is going direct in Aries. Normally Mars, the planet of aggression, the planet of war, the planet of blunt, assertive energy, the planet of courage, of bravery, of independence, normally spends about 6 to 7 weeks in each sign. It has spent months in Aries and will continue, I think a total of 6 months by the time it goes into Taurus. That makes its energy extremely powerful. And we're having that at the same time that we're seeing Mercury bringing murky results to our communications. And at the same time, there's so many crazy things going on this month. The period between October 31st and November 18th, we have Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, the planet of secrets, the planet of the bowels of things, unknown things, things that are kept in the dark, is going to be conjunct within 1 degree of Jupiter. Jupiter is considered a benevolent planet, whereas Pluto is considered a malefic planet. Opposite energies. Pluto represents, again, rebirth, sex. It rules Scorpio. It also rules aberrated behaviors, the more challenging dynamics of the human experience, and not for the detriment of the human, but rather for the transformation. Now we bring in Jupiter, which represents higher ideals, represents the connection to the angelic realm. It represents our belief system. It represents priests and judges and mentors and people we are inspired by. They are going to be together, okay? And so there could be some very transformative things that change our beliefs as a result of secrets that are revealed over the next few weeks in November. On the 15th, which is at the tail end of this conjunction between Pluto and Jupiter, we're going to have a new moon in Scorpio. Pluto rules Scorpio. Again, a new moon is new beginnings, but it's the ending of something else. It's also interesting because a new moon is when the sky is dark. It's unlike the full moon. So this feels much more like there'll be a period of time when we feel we're in a bit of darkness. Now, we also have on November, I believe, 28th, Neptune, the planet that rules spirituality. It rules egolessness. It rules water. It rules intuition. It rules drug addicts and escapism. It rules perception. And it rules clouds and fog, mist, things you can't see clearly, is going to start to move direct. So within the month of November, we have 3 planets moving direct. So we have the planet of our everyday activities and communications at the beginning of the month, Mercury. We have Mars, the planet of action, of assertion, in the middle of the month. And then at the end of the month, we have Neptune, which rules, it rules a very spiritual dynamic, but it also can feel erosive because whatever water pours itself into, it takes on that form. So if it's in a cylinder, it takes on the form of a cylinder. If it's in a square, it takes on the form of a square. So that's where things can get an illusion. So all of these things are happening. Now, let's culminate the month with a lunar eclipse in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So here we start the month off with looking at our way of our perceptions, the way we teach, the way we think, the way we speak, the way we write, journalism, telecommunications, and then we end the month with this lunar eclipse. It's a full moon, so it represents the culmination of something. And this is a time when I want to say that Gemini rules a youthful dynamic as well. It rules fun. It rules what they call the Peter Pan dynamic. So what I think we're going to see is that people could potentially, as we go into the holidays, especially, if we think this eclipse is happening at the end of November, people could be tired of everything. Tired of the restriction, wanting to enjoy the holidays, wanting to enjoy their siblings, their families, their everyday lives in a much more normal way. And so I feel like there's the potential that there could be rebellion if that is oppressed. There could be people that are actively speaking their beliefs and believing that they're helping to transform the planet by being assertive in the dynamic of what they believe is best. So that's kind of what the month holds for November in general. So we have almost every week is action-packed, not to mention the United States, we have Thanksgiving. So that's the dynamic. Now I'm going to go into the readings, and I'm going to start with Aries and work my way towards Pisces. Do a 4-card spread for each. It's a 4 placement spread using 2 decks, 8 cards. Get my notes out of the way real quick. And the first position, I'm just going to tell you, and then we'll be cruising from there. The first position represents what the foundational energetic dynamic is for the month of November for you. The second position will represent the opportunity and or the obstacle. The third position will represent the angel's advice, the heavenly advice for taking advantage of the opportunity or getting around the obstacle. And the final position will look and show us what the potential outcome is energetically for the month. where you'll be starting December off. So here we go with our Aries, Aries sun. I would say if you know your rising sign and you know your moon, I would check rising and moon first, but for the sake of this particular broadcast, we're going to do the sun sign. So for Aries sun, our first angel is Merlina. The second is Seraphina. The third is Archangel Raphael. And in the final position is Azure. Merlina is being joined by the Trust card. Seraphina is being joined by the Water Fairy. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Mystery card. And Azure is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. So in the foundational position, Merlina represents confusion, indecision, being unsure of something because I need to do more research. I need more information. And then there's the Trust card. Aries is action-oriented. Aries is a truth seeker. Aries is in its highest vibration, brave, courageous, willing to go into battle for high ideals. I believe we're going to have a lot of confusion over the month of November. Results for many things will be in flux. And so the Trust card to me for Aries really represents a bigger picture of things, meaning trusting that not having the information right now is because the information is not available. It is in process. And there's a part of you that is now going to hone in, trusting your intuitive skills, trusting what you're feeling, and trusting. Seraphina presents an opportunity for there to be a happy change in the family. And in some ways it could represent, a child coming in, but when I'm talking to so many individuals, I'm only addressing them as individuals. And this is a happy change within yourself. And the angel's advice, there is Archangel Raphael and the Mystery card. I want to say that I think November offers, especially towards the end of the month with the eclipse, the potential for Aries to feel much more vital within their physical body, as well as their emotional body and their mental body. I am a Aries rising. So I feel I focus very much on my Aries. It feels very natural to me. I'm very assertive. I have a Libra sun, which some people think is indecisive, and I'm not. I have had some physical challenges, as I age, and then feeling vulnerable to the dynamics of the world. And yet, as I have taken my intuitive inspirations and applied them, I have found information that has made me trust that intuition, which has made me lead to choices that have healed not only my body, but my intuitive body, my mental body, and my spiritual body. And the final position for the month of November for Aries, Azure says the outcome you want is on the table. It's time not to force things. And Aries wants to force things. Aries represents swords, sharp instruments. And here it is, the Lady of the Lake holding Excalibur as certain emotions that have been torn up over this last few months are really cut through, and the courage to see the truth that Aries represents is on the table. I think that we have we have dynamics astrologically, which if you didn't watch the beginning of this video, please go back and watch it because I don't want to get repetitive. But there could be truths that come to light that require Aries to see things from a much more peaceful warrior way, in a way that sees the wisdom of a certain disruption and bringing an emotional release from whatever has been binding you, whatever has been bringing a sense of confusion. Because I think that it could be related straight up to your physical body. So you've been trusting your intuition and then you start to see results in your physical body. But it also feels like that physical body, if indeed it is on the table, is only facilitating a deeper courage and a deeper trust in what you know intuitively and spiritually and emotionally. Because it doesn't feel like this is about action, taking action on the outside. I don't think this is about being active in charging forward with an idea as much as it's about really digging deeper into the motives of why you want to move forward and letting spirit give you some signs and omens of when is an appropriate or a most fertile time to do so. Again, we have Mercury going direct, Mars going direct, and at the end of the month, Neptune going direct. These are going to be powerful influences because as each one changes direction, it becomes 3 times more powerful. Then we have a lunar eclipse at the end of the month and a powerful new moon in the middle in Scorpio. So, all right, let's go on to our Tauruses. Taurus sun. You could say rising and moon. Again, if you don't know, you can just watch your sun sign. All right, November 2020. What is your heavenly horoscope? What do the angels want you to know about this month? All right, Taurus, in the foundational position, we have the angel Rochelle. In the opportunity or the obstacle is Bridget. In the angel's advice is Indriel, and in the final position is Desiree. As I'm shuffling the second deck, I want to talk about Taurus being the natural second house of the zodiac, which represents our possessions, our belongings, things that you can move, not like land, but things like jewelry and cars, in some ways cars, because you own the car. It's also fourth house. Jewelry represents couches, furniture, things that you around your home that you are attached to. It also is known as the house of security. Taurus represents security, but on the flip side, it's the house of insecurity. And I say that because as the dragon is joining Rochelle, Bridget is being joined by the owl, Indriel is being joined by the novice, and Desiree is being joined by the bee. Okay, so the reason I said this is because I feel like as I looked at Rochelle, who says to honor and follow the guidance of your heart, that prosperity is coming to you, but it's so much more than just money. It is a harmony and a prosperity that affords peace of mind within the heart, the spirit, the soul, the physical experience in all its manifestations. And then we have the dragon. So I want to say this for Taurus. I feel like this month is going to illuminate for you many of the ways that you've been making decisions that weren't based on truly on your heart, but rather on a way of going back and forth between what you think is good for you and what you really, really want and what you think you can get. It feels, Bridget asked me to look deeper into a situation. She's saying caution, but not in a negative way that's harmful or that's warning like bad things are happening. It's more about where the owl is saying it's the deception and wisdom, fear and faith. So as I can use this example for Taurus. Years ago, I started creating a meditation deck. And although the idea was really good, I remember saying to myself on numerous occasions that I was creating the deck because when I became a certain age, and if I could not physically do my job, at least I would have a product that would continue to make me money. That was the underlying vibration of the project. So for Taurus, what is your underlying vibration when you contemplate following your heart? Because I think on some level, you're playing to more of the deception dynamic, something you think it will be good for you or will be something secure, but by following your heart, you're in a much more secure position. And I say that because the angels are here asking you to shine your light on the world. And here's the novice, an unstable new beginning. And that unstable new beginning is actually putting yourself first without contemplating if it was actually a completely safe move. And I want to say it this way, because I'm not necessarily advocating that you put your house up, as collateral for something that's super risky, as much as you going down into your emotional and spiritual body and asking yourself if the things that you have said make you happy truly make you happy, or if these are things you thought would make you happy. Because in the final position, I have Desiree saying that conditions aren't favorable. And here's the B card, which represents good luck and victory, but it represents my being energy. My being energy is, what do I believe? What is my attitude? What is my disposition? So in this month of November, and again, I want to offer you, please go to the beginning of this video for the astrological dynamics that are going to support this revelation for you. We have a conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto that is going to bring up a lot of our beliefs, a lot of our way of thinking, and really coming up for re-examination as to, is this something that served me at one point, but maybe it's an expired belief and I've evolved past it. Because moving forward from 2021 on, and as we kind of go through the rest of 2020, clearing out the cobwebs of what is our deeper truth versus the truth we've been telling ourselves, we're going to see things really start to shift in a dynamic that will serve us and serve the world at large better, because people will be happier as they stand on a more authentic platform. So for the month of November 2020, Taurus, your greatest strength comes from going into the deepest parts of your heart and really fleshing out what is the wisdom and what is the deception you've been telling yourself, and then calling upon God and the angels to help you shine your light as you practice this with unstable little wobbly legs, because you will fluctuate whether or not you believe and don't believe. And in that fluctuation, your greatest opportunity for manifestation is to go back into your heart and then thank Spirit for giving you an experience to help anchor your belief in yourself so you can take strong steps moving forward. All right, let's go on to our Geminis. Okay. It's a big month, I think, for Gemini. As Mercury goes direct. Mercury also rules Virgo, but I feel it's more potent for Gemini because we've got this lunar eclipse at the end of the month in your sign. Lunar eclipses are always full moons, bringing a culmination, but they also influence the following 6 months, what's coming up for the next 6 months. So I think this is going to be very important. All right, Gemini. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Archangel Michael. The third is Maya. And the final is Ray. Fiona is being joined by the dragon. Archangel Michael is being joined by the goblin. Maya is being joined by the protection card. And Ray is being joined by the Grail Knight. Okay, so for my Geminis, Fiona says, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving heaven's help and guidance. You deserve it. And this is where your power and strength will come this month. I want to say it this way. Gemini represents the twins, represents perception, thought, analysis. And I feel like your greatest gift you could give yourself this month is to realize that you could analyze this till the cows come home, and you're never really going to be able to come to a conclusion, because there is God and the angels are in charge of a lot of what's going on within your life right now. In what is disruptive, maybe actually clearing the cobwebs out, and you don't realize it, because in the opportunity, the obstacle is Archangel Michael and the goblin. And Archangel Michael is a card of courage here. And while he always represents protection to a certain level, he's asking you to be courageous and look at where your ego is literally edging God out, where you've allowed the human experience to eclipse a sense of faith and trust in a bigger picture of things. Because I think that Gemini is being protected. I think you're learning from Maya, the angel of schooling and education, that you're being protected from what you think you want. Not that it was not good for you, but it may be a very small sliver of a pie of what spirit has to offer you when you go and turn things over to spirit. Because Ray talks about yoga and exercise on the face of the card, but I don't ever, rarely do I see it that way. I see her sitting in a meditative position with her power chakra flanked by her heart chakra and her throat chakra, these colors coming out of her third eye. And this is the Grail Knight bowing down to Excalibur and the deeper truth, the sacred of what this character truly wants. And I want to offer it this way because the Grail Knight represents romance as well. And if indeed you have been wanting to be in a romantic relationship or wanting more romance within your relationship, and if you're trying to see how that's going to work out, you're going to keep triggering your ego. So as you surrender to spirit in the way of saying, thank you for giving me an experience that anchors my faith and my thought process, my perceptions, that I am in many ways being protected from settling for a smaller version of what I want because I can't see the bigger version just yet. I really believe that this month is going to be pivotal for you, Gemini, that it will bring up revelations, in some ways epiphanies, and it could be knowledge. You could find out just straight up knowledge about other people's intentions and activities that help you say, you know what, I am good to go. And now I'm going to turn this over to God, because the ego represents edging God out. And Archangel Michael is really asking you to kind of get out of your own thought process enough to see that there's a bigger wisdom that is protecting you from what your eyeballs cannot see. And when you do that, you will be so excited that you actually, spirit will be so palatable. By the end of this month, I would say, this eclipse that's happening in your sign will bring information about your everyday activities or about the way you've been thinking that hasn't served you, that's going to help you make a shift to be more receptive to spirit's experience versus you trying to create an experience. And then we're really going to start to see some action and see some things that you've wanted to manifest. There's going to be evidence that that's coming in. So be mindful of that. Okay, let's go on to our Cancers. All right, here we go. Cancer Sun, Rising, and Moon. Our first angel is Chantal, the angel of romance. The second is Desiree. The third is Fiona. And the final is Rosetta. Joining Chantal is the Baird. Joining Desiree is the Hawk. Joining Fiona is the High Priestess. And joining Rosetta is the Death card. And I'm going to pull one more just for clarification. And we have the Serpent. All righty. So for my Cancers, Sun, Rising, and Moon. Chantal is the angel of romance. She talks about the resurgence of a romance. She talks about new romance coming in. And then we have the Baird. And the Baird talks about music, storytelling, history. I normally think of it as my history. And when I look at this spread for Cancer, I do think you have a story to tell yourself about your love life. And I think that there's an opportunity to rise above that story. Desiree says conditions aren't favorable. And I want to put it this way, because many of you may already be in a relationship. And I want to say it I want to hit this two different ways, because for those of you that are single, I feel like Spirit is asking you to start to look at your history and kind of think about the song, Rascal Flatts song, Bless the Broken Road. Because many of the people and partners that you may have been entertaining were maybe not really what you wanted, but what you might have thought you wanted at the time. But in hindsight, it's not quite what you wanted, because Spirit is asking you to rise above and to see the signs and the omens that conditions were not favorable, because what you're looking for in love is coming. And this is the higher version of that. This is the intuitive side of it. And here's Fiona saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving their guidance. You deserve heaven's help. And in the final position, I have Rosetta, talks about children, parenting, and teaching. I have the Death card, which is transformation. And then I have the Serpent, which is about knowledge and healing. And I don't think this is about children. I actually think this is about a childlike innocence. Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon is emotional. It is, it rules the tides. It's very powerful in that way, and it's receptive. And I think that part of what Spirit is saying, and what, for your heavenly horoscope, is to really look into your history and where have you been telling a story that no longer serves you? What happens to the good story, to the romantic story, to the happy story, to the finding love story? And then to start to really think about the signs and the omens that Spirit is telling you that there has been a cleansing. And when I say this, I'm not really thinking about your emotional body right now. As much as it feels almost like this restrictive year of 2020 there's been a cleansing of people in your life, or maybe some people have gone away or taken a rightful place in an outer ring, which opens a space for new people to come in, because you've been asking for a higher ideal of things and wanting to feel more connected to the ones that you hold dear, home and hearth. And I believe that at the end of this month, you will feel a more childlike innocence as you shed a skin of yesteryear. And how I find shedding a skin how I personally am able to allow that experience to happen, is to see the wisdom in it, to find a tool in it. It's not just about trying to throw an emotion away like it didn't happen and be fresh and new. It's more, how can I be a wiser individual, a more loving individual? And I think that's what's going on here. And if for some reason you're single and you have not experienced love the way you want to, then this is about rewriting that story. Because Chantal talks about new romance eminently coming in. And when I say that, I see these eclipses at the end of November. I see these planets, Mars, Mercury, and Neptune going direct. Thank goodness that we have, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto are moving direct now. Finally, for the final time, they will move away from each other and will not meet again in this configuration for another 184 years or so, give or take. So it's really a time to look to the future as sort of this end of the road. There's still some disruption to be had, but it's cleaning the cobwebs out and it's bringing clarity about what you truly want. And now part of your job is to believe in a way that only an intuitive Cancer can, believing in the unseen, in the moon, and that it will illuminate. Because I think by the end of the month, there'll be something inside of you that is shifted that will then allow the experience you want to come into the physical world for you. All right, let's go on to our Leos. All right. All right, here we go for our Leos. Our first angel is Astera. The second is Francesca. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Celeste. All right, joining Astera is the deer. Joining Francesca is the water fairy. Joining Rochelle is the risk card, and joining Celeste is the partnership card. Okay, so for my Leos, my Leo sun, rising, and moon. And if I'm to tell you, truth be told, rising, moon, and sun, that would be the order I would watch these videos or these segments within the video. But for the sake of ease, everybody knows when their birthday is, so that's why I'm doing sun sign first. Leo sun. Astera says, for November 2020, reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and don't compromise. And the deer could represent fear, but I believe you are the king of the jungle. You rule the zodiac. The sun rules the zodiac. So now is a time of being gentle and diplomatic with yourself as you give yourself permission to truly stand in that Leo energy of reaching for the stars unabashedly. No holes barred, no cutting corners with what it is that you want. Because Francesca says, what do you visualize right now? Focus on that, because negativity will block your progress. And there's a part of you, Leo, that knows that you deserve what it is that you want. The leader inside of you, the part of you that rules fun and romance, personal pleasure, self-expression, children, you know that you've been here. There's a destiny for you. And now the angels are saying it's time to follow your heart, Leo. And I want to put it this way, because this doesn't feel like it's about taking action. It feels like it's about being connected to spirit and being gentle and diplomatic as you walk through the road of give and take between action and non-action that then brings inspired thought and new action. I want to encourage you to go to the beginning of this video and to listen to the astrological dynamics of the month of November 2020. 3 planets are going direct. We have a full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini, the planet of, or the sign of our everyday activities, our transportations, our mail system, our communications, telecommunications. So this is very significant. And in addition to that, we have a conjunction between Pluto and Jupiter. Pluto representing complete birth, death, and rebirth. Jupiter representing our beliefs and many other aspects. Again, go to the beginning of the video, because in the final position, Leo, there's an opportunity coming. And I want to put it kind of a couple of ways, because normally I'll say Celeste is a shift in the way I'm thinking. But I do think that there's an opportunity that will offer up for you for some sort of partnership within a new job or a new home environment, a new situation. And I want to put it this way, because the partnership card doesn't necessarily feel like a human being to me. It feels more like it's in partnership with spirit, kind of being the leader that you are, and now you're manifesting from a different place. You really represent joy. You know, Leo, you represent the things that make us have a good time. And manifestation, people like to think that they work hard in order to make something happen, you know, pound the pavement to get that job, but it's really joyous energy that brings opportunities that then we have an opportunity, a decision to make. And that's where the risk card comes in for you. You're going to have to risk really trusting your heart. And in many ways, trusting your heart, because you can't quite see the outcome yet. This is your opportunity under your obstacle. But here at the end of the month will be some sort of opportunity. You will either clearly have shifted the way you think about something, which will then bring an opportunity in, or spirit will bring in a physical opportunity that has to do with your career or your home. And if your home is not, if your location doesn't change, then there can be a freshness to your home, an opportunity to bring new energy into the home. All right, let's go on to our Virgos. Excuse me, clear my throat. Take a quick sip of water. Sorry. All right, Virgo. Our first angel for the month of November is Archangel Raphael. The second is Aurora. The third is Ariel. And the final is Sonia. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Raven. Aurora is being joined by the Goblin. The Baird is joining Ariel. And Sonia is being joined by the Focus card. Okay, so Archangel Raphael represents physical healing. And he talks on the face of the card about Virgo being a physical healer. Virgo naturally represents the 6th house of health. And then we have the Raven, which represents synchronistic events, magic, and timing. And I want to say it this way because I believe for Virgo that this absolutely has to do with some sort of physical healing. And it feels more like it comes through information. It comes through something mercurial, which rules Virgo. And here we have the your ruling planet going direct on November 3rd. Again, I want to encourage you to go to the beginning of this video. And then we have a full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini at the end of the month. Gemini rules perceptions, thoughts, everyday activities, workmates, teammates, siblings. So to me, there is a healing that's coming. It's been a timing thing. And I feel like it has a lot to do with your perception and focus, because in Aurora, it says you're flying high right now, not to descend, that you will soon inspire others. And I believe your inspiration will come because you realize where your ego is getting in the way and where it is maybe tripping you up from having a more high frequency experience within your physical body. There's something about Virgo connecting their emotional and mental body with their physical body that feels very palatable to me, because in the angel's advice, I have the Baird, which talks about my history, what I lived on this earth, what I know to be real and true. And here's Ariel saying, new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself and others. And the final position, we have Sonia, representing a deceased loved one, and the Focus card. I think this represents not only loved ones watching over you, but also your team, and your team asking you, what is your focus on? So I want to put it this way. Oftentimes when we feel a challenge, whether it's in our emotional body, we're healing from a heartbreak, or our physical body, our bone is broken, our muscle hurts, or we've struggling with a virus of some kind or a cold, we tend to focus in on the problem, the heartache, the symptom. I can't breathe, I can't move, my joints are achy. And I feel like part of the magic for Virgo this particular month is to I feel like Neptune is going to be going direct as well. And Neptune represents spiritualism. It represents egoless dynamic in some way. And I feel like there's a potential for you to start to implement magic, because Archangel Raphael is giving you experiences that transcend your ego's own knowledge of the human being, that starts to rewrite your history, because you realize that it's your focus that could be contributing to an issue. So let me just kind of round this out. When we're feeling in pain, it's very hard not to focus in on the pain. It's hard to focus in on relief. But if in the awareness that we are having that struggle, then we can say to Spirit, thank you for giving me, Archangel Raphael, a magical experience that lets me know that my body responds to my thought and emotional process. As I've aged, I don't know how many of you have been watching me for a while, but I'm 61 just a few weeks ago. And, there's certain things happen and change in your body. One of them for women going through menopause is heart palpitations. And when I would feel one, I would say to my heart, thank you, I hear you. Now you may be calm, and I will acknowledge you. I will come from my heart, and the palpitation would subside. As I gave into the vulnerability and fear, am I going to have a heart attack? I would notice my stress level would make it worse. This is what I'm doing. This is where I feel like Spirit is asking Virgo to pay attention to their focus so that you can actually start to replicate Archangel Raphael's healing power on this planet. And it is time to do that, to realize we're light beings inhabiting a physical experience. Our bodies aren't happening to us. They are co-creating with all the other facets of our physical experience. Emotional body, financial body, our family bodies, our spiritual bodies, our love bodies, all the facets. All right, let's go on to our Libras. All right, Libra, what is the heavenly horoscope for November 2020 for you? Our first angel Libra is Celeste. The second is Rosetta. The third is Xana. And the final is Athena. Joining Celeste is the cat. Joining Rosetta is the queen. Joining Xana is the lady of the lake. And joining Athena is the communications card. Okay, so Celeste represents a move to a new home, a new place of employment. But for me, as I've worked with this angel, I always feel like it represents a shift in my thinking because my beliefs go wherever I go. They go into the new job, they go into the new home. So for Libra, I believe for the November 2020, part of what the energy you're stepping out on is shifting your thought into a more independent and healthy boundaries with some things. Libra is partnership, Libra is cooperation, Libra is harmony, and sometimes Libra out of balance will be harmonious beyond balance, beyond what is really good for the situation, and then will become passive aggressive. So here I feel like Libra starts off this month really using their thought process to see the wisdom of some healthy boundaries. And I want to offer it this way because part of you may be feeling like I need healthy boundaries with my children or with younger people in my life. There's the queen and there's children. And this is about teaching, parenting, Rosetta represents. And even if you don't have children, I don't have children, but sometimes we need to allow younger people in our lives, or let's say people who are even maybe the same age, but more naive or more less worldly in some ways. Let them walk their walk. Let them walk the journey for their own empowerment. The queen is about femininity, about receiving, about the idea of allowing experiences. She's very benign. And for some reason, I feel very strongly, whether you're a man or a woman, that this is about allowing the naive to be naive and to keep a guiding hand, not on the situation, but on the outcome of the situation. Because in the angel's advice, I have the Lady of the Lake and I have Xana, the angel of protection. And when I see the angel of protection, I always think it's about emotional protection. And sometimes when we walk through a challenging situation where our beliefs are of a healthy boundary, the other person is not used to our healthy boundary and they keep wanting to go back to the old dynamic. But we have to sort of allow for that to be what it is. Allow for the child to do what they need to do, even if it's an immature attitude, because it's going to take courage to stand in your truth so emotional balance can take place. And I want to say it this way, because if Libra is overly delivering and not receiving, then you may be worn down by that. And this month of November will very much reveal that. You may feel more like a sponge. And the dynamic of Mars going direct and Mercury going direct and the new moon, I mean, again, I'm going to refer back to the beginning of this video. These dynamics are going to bring up beliefs. And it's time for Libra to communicate in a lovingly assertive way these healthy boundaries. I love you, but I'm no longer going to take on more than what's my share. I love you, and I'm willing to do this job for you, whether you're a loved one or an associate, but I'm willing to do it in a way that empowers us both. I'm willing to implement the highest vibrations of my Venusian Libra and to create harmony, because I'm not going to allow myself to become angry on the inside and act like I'm okay on the outside. And I think that's where Libra will have to be super brave. And there may be, on some level, this might be the dynamic of Libra itself, a child wanting to be taken care of, but a queen, and this is regardless of gender, it's more of a vibration. So, it's between the two parts of yourself, and it really isn't picking one over the other, but marrying the two and being brave enough to know how important it is to take care of your emotional well-being and the inner child. There's very much something about Libra, because when I talk about Celeste shifting the way I think, may not be having a conversation with somebody else to get their approval. This may be how we communicate with myself. And then what ends up happening is Spirit opens up an organic dynamic for you or a situation to express yourself authentically in this new version of yourself, which puts your own wants and desires on the docket, on the priority list, at the top a little bit. Cooperation without cooperation from the other side isn't truly cooperation. Balance without balance from the other side isn't truly balance. So sometimes maybe love is disruptive, because love is saying, no, I'm not going to do this behavior that doesn't serve the win-win. Okay, because if anybody loves a win-win, it's a Libra. All right, let's go on to Scorpio. Big month for you, birthday month for you. Woo! Lots of stuff going on. Your ruling planet is going to be hanging out with Jupiter. All right, Scorpio, Sun, rising, and moon. All right, our first angel is Bridget. The second is Patience. The third is Caressa. And the final is Rochelle. All right, Scorpio, joining Bridget in the foundational position is the Wind Fairy. Joining Patience is the Dragon. Joining Caressa is the Burden card. And joining Rochelle is the Water Fairy. This is a month, November 2020, when secrets could come to light, when the unspoken is spoken. Bridget says to look deeper into a situation, and then the Wind Fairy is here and talks about thoughts, words, and analysis. And we have Mercury going direct on November 3rd, the day of the election, US presidential election. Mars, the planet that rules truth in many ways. I say it rules truth because Mars is willing to go to bat, willing to go to war for a deeper truth when it's its highest vibration. And then we have a new moon in Scorpio at the middle of the month, which is going to bring new things. It almost feels like emotional epiphanies to me. It's the transformed side of Pluto as you re-examine your beliefs, because that's what Jupiter represents. And your ruling planet Pluto, and then the secondary or ancient ruler Mars, are both having quite a bit of influence this month. And here is Patience and the opportunity obstacle. You're going to learn something about your own power and strength as you walk through this month, because your power and strength are going to come back to your willingness to go dig deep into your own thought process. And I want to say it this way because there are going to be burdens that you have that you're going to put to rest. It's almost as if Scorpio finally says, do I need to go down this dark road anymore? Or can I transform this dark road into working for me? And how I feel it is where I really start to trust the intuitive dynamics that I am. Scorpio rules the detective, you know. Pluto's a great detective. It can sniff out what it cannot see. So now you start to operate from that at its highest vibration. And instead of feeling like you're walking down a spooky old road where something's going to jump out at you, you're more of an intuitive, like a spiritual warrior being able to walk through. It's kind of like Luke Skywalker when Yoda is teaching him how to use his lightsaber, and he finally goes through the exercise where he puts the blindfold on and he has to feel the force. I feel like that's what's going to happen with Scorpio this month. You're going to look deeper into your physical mind and how you've been thinking. Then you're going to start to observe that it hasn't worked for you. It's been disempowering in some way. And so you're going to say, I'm sick of those burdens. I'm sick of all that back and forth thinking, back, right, wrong. And then I'm going to start to trust that deeper intuition. And this is where the real revelation comes. So at the end of the month, we have this eclipse that's in Gemini. And it's a full moon eclipse, lunar eclipse. So there's a culmination of something. It has influence for the next 6 months. So over the next 6 months, you might see almost like the layers of an onion being peeled back as you stand more authentically in that inner knowing. And then spirit starts to give you confirmation after confirmation. So you don't have to be a snoop anymore. The information will come to you, or the validation will come to you. And this is going to be a very strong platform for moving forward. And while I still think that December 2020 and maybe even the beginning of 2021 offer some kind of, 2020-esque challenges, the road will become easier and easier as we move forward into this decade. All right, let's go on to Sagittarius. All right. Sagittarius, November 2020. The first angel is Chantal, the angel of romance. The second is Ariel. The third is Archangel Gabriel. And the final is Archangel Raphael. All right, joining Chantal is the Goblin. Joining Ariel is the Fear card. Joining Archangel Gabriel is the Letting Go card. Joining Archangel Raphael is the Spider. All right. Chantal talks about romance. She talks about the resurgence in a current relationship, meaning a fluff up, a great cycle starting. And she also talks about new romance coming in. And then we have it coupled with the Goblin. And that's challenging dynamic. I'm not going to say it's not. And as I looked at it, I feel like there's a certain amount of, I want to put it this way for Sagittarius. It feels a little bit like there's a trigger this month. We have a conjunction between your ruling planet Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn by nature rules authority. It rules oppression, restriction, old age, things sort of drying up, depression. And I want to put it this way, because it doesn't feel to me like this is about your love life as much as it feels like it's about, almost feels a little bit as if there's a projection into the future, as if things are not going to shift. And so I want to offer it this way, because Chantal feels like she's saying you're edging God out because you're only looking at what isn't working. And I feel like somehow it's almost as if some of you may have had engagement parties planned, or, you know, certain markers for 2020 that didn't get to happen. And I feel like Spirit is saying, you know what, there's going to be experiences that make you realize that your fears are false evidence appearing real. And I want to put it this way, because it's almost sometimes we look at things in hindsight and we say, you know what? I thought that was so bad when it happened, and it ended up being a blessing in disguise. That's what this feels like to me. Like there's something happening for Sagittarius that will reveal itself through these astrological dynamics, because information is going to come up. And it could be the type of information that actually makes you feel good, like you dodged a bullet. Because in the angel's advice is Archangel Gabriel, who is our communicator. She would represent all communications. And the letting go card is, for me, it's let it go from the movie Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. There's something about like almost like a projection, a fear of projection. And you're gonna find a reversal to it, because in the final position is Archangel Raphael offering healing, and then there's the spider. So something's going to stick. Something's going to get into the web and not come out. And what I think it may be is that Sagittarius is really going to anchor into the dynamics of the higher vibrations of Jupiter. Jupiter can be a bit, in its lowest of a frequency, a know-it-all. And if indeed you've been soured in your love life, you may be a know-it-all that your love life ain't going to work. It isn't going to work. It isn't going to work. There's no one out there. You know, look at this. I've been stuck at home, blah, blah, blah. Because I feel like there's something bigger coming. And I want to offer it this way, because there is a lunar eclipse coming at the end of November. And this is influence for 6 months. So there is the potential for Sagittarius that over the next 6 months, you learn something about your attitude towards love that as you shift it actually opens up a dynamic for you to receive love the way you're looking for it. And I want to offer it this way. You may end up finding out that, well, gosh, this whole time I've been kind of thinking it wasn't going to happen, and the person I'm meant to be with was not available yet. They were in the army in Afghanistan, or they were living in their country somewhere. You know, you rule foreign countries, you rule foreign travel. And it could be that that person was previously married and going through a healing process that makes them actually more appreciative of your energy when they meet you. So there's a wisdom to come out of this somewhere. And it may not reveal itself for 6 months, but hold tight, because you're going to learn something over this next month and maybe beyond about your own attitude in love. And I want to say this too. If indeed you're in a relationship and that relationship is absolutely fabulous, then you may have a fear that you're too happy. That's possible, because I don't want to take that out of the equation. Joy is the most difficult emotion for humans to feel, because the minute they start to feel it, they start to fear that joy will be taken away. So that's where I'm going to go on the flip side of that. So if you're in a great relationship and you have any fear that it's not going to last, it's time to tell Spirit to remove that illusion of false evidence appearing real. That person is more than likely as appreciative as you are of their energy in your life, the exchange. All right, let's go on to our Capricorns. Oh, Saturn is finally moving forward for Capricorn. Will be in its co-ruling sign of Aquarius shortly, moving away from Pluto. It will join Jupiter for the next year. Jupiter will be in Aquarius as well. So we'll see a lot of interesting things as a result of that. We'll talk about that more later. But Capricorn, you've been going through it. You've been going through it since Saturn entered your sign in the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And it's been very transformative for you. So let's see what Spirit has to say for you for November 2020. We have Layla. Spend time in nature, meditating about your desires. Bridget is asking you to look deeper into a situation. Serafina is talking about your resources and money. And I'm sorry, Serena is talking about your resources and money, and Serafina is the angel of happy families. Let's see how this is gonna, how this deck is going to reveal. Joining these angels. All right. Joining Layla is the eagle. Joining Bridget is the focus card. Joining Serena is the queen. And joining Serafina is the spider. Okay, this is what I want to say for Capricorn. I feel like so much transformation has been happening for you, you know, both in the physical world as well as your emotional and spiritual bodies. And when I think about the month of November, I feel like Capricorn has an opportunity to start to really individualize. You represent hard work. In fact, stoic hard work, working hard beyond, you know, what I want to do, but what's best for the situation. And I feel like Layla is asking you to spend time in nature with God and the angels and really contemplating if where your focus has been is serving you. We have so many astrological dynamics offering liberation and freedom from chains that bind us, that don't serve us anymore. And I feel like if you've been working so hard to attain material success, it's because you're working too hard. You're trying to grab at it instead of receive it. And that's one of the opportunities you've had to learn over this last 2.5 years. The Capricorn in and of itself represents a lot of, I want to put it this way, it represents governments and authority. And Capricorn I'm sorry, I don't want to say represents. It looks at itself like the more material success it has gained, the better it is. And I don't mean it in a negative way. It's just very earthbound in some respects on its more challenging vibration. So now I think there's been a transformation that your hard work is limited. It's your belief. It's like lifting the Saturn depression off of Capricorn to say, I receive, I did work hard enough. I am focused on what I want. So now Spirit will bring it to me because God is in charge of the money, and the queen never has to work for money. Everything comes to her. And I think you're starting to learn about your focus, and it's a bit of a burden because you've been working hard. It doesn't make any sense. I worked hard. I should receive this benefit. But the challenge has been is that you're not receiving it wholeheartedly. You're receiving it because you think you had to work hard. And now Serafina is going to shift that for you. She's going to start to bring, and I want to say it this way because she's holding a baby, but it feels like new experiences that are lined up with spirit and an integrity, where you start to really believe that it's not just the law of allowing. Everybody focuses on the law of the law of attraction. Everybody, oh, if I attract it, I attract it. But if you don't have the law of allowing in place, the law of attraction is limited. The real ticket is not the law of attraction. It's the law of allowing. I allow this good experience to come into my life. I allow this money to come into my life. I allow this benefit to be here. And I believe it is long lasting because I've spent so much time as a Capricorn attracting it. That's what I think is going on. So now we add all the astrological dynamics that I talked about at the beginning of the video. Mercury, the planet of communication, going direct, the planet of your everyday activities. Mars, being willing to be courageous in your current actions. And the actions aren't the actions I take in the physical world, but my actions to address the truth of my heart and then take my actions. And the eclipse is going to offer an opportunity for fated events to come in for you to then take that law of allowing and put it into physical application, where you're going to be like, okay, the opportunity came, now I get to be brave and step into it. And then this is going to create a new momentum. That's going to then usher in a whole new decade for you. A lot of house cleaning in 2020. All right, let's go on to our Aquariuses. Aquarius sun, and then rising, and then moon. And I say sun for these videos because everybody knows when their birthday is. And technically this is not an astrology channel, but I feel so much that God made the heavens and the earth to help us and guide us. So here we are. And if you know you're rising, I would look rising first, moon second, and sun third. Okay, here we go, Aquarius. What do the angels have to say for you for November 2020? Our first angel is Caressa. The second is Indriel. The third is Adriana. And the final is Daniel. Well, there we go. Pardon me. Joining Caressa is the Grail Knight. Joining Indriel is the Deer. Joining Adriana is the Focus card. And joining Daniel is the Spider. Okay, so for my Aquariuses, you are ruled by Uranus in modern times, Saturn in ancient times. And right now, Uranus is transiting Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. I feel like there's an opportunity. I'm saying this, I know if you know astrology, I may seem a little convoluted, but there's something about your love life that's coming up for review. And I say it because Caressa talks about the end of a life cycle, that new happiness awaits you. And there's the Grail Knight. I feel like there's a liberation coming as you bow down to a deeper truth, that you're willing to remove the illusions of what you think its potential. That's the way I want to put it. If you've been in a situation where you were hoping somebody would shift, would be this way, and you were banking more on the potential than who they are, something's going to shift that for you. Because Indriel is the light worker, and she's really asking you in the opportunity or the obstacle to know who and what you are and to shine that light brightly on the planet. Don't dumb down for any sort of love relationship, because now is a time to be gentle and diplomatic with yourself as you are led by spirit to realize your focus. When I say realize your focus, whether we realize it or not, we start our love lives at a highly volatile time. We're teenagers, our hormones are racing everywhere, everything is exploratory and curiosity. And then we go through a series of experiences that we take into another season in our lives. And we never look back to say, well, that is expired. I've now been through some exploration. I've been curious. I've checked that out. And so there comes a time when people are more seasoned and they want to be in relationship in a different way. So for my Aquariuses, the end of the chapter isn't your love life. It's the end of the way you've been reviewing it, the illusions that served you or didn't serve you, really, because now is truly a time to shine a light on what false evidence was appearing real, fear, and to be gentle and diplomatic as you move out of this deer in the headlight energy, as Spirit says, we're going to lead you to see how your focus inadvertently creates the same experience. Because in the final position is Daniel, the angel of marriage, and there's the Spider. And Daniel asks us to look at our history. Where are we bringing our history into the current situation? That's why I think Caressa is so, this month, 2020, again, each sign I'm asking people to go back to the beginning of the video and to look at the astrological dynamics that are offering us liberation from old dynamics. And we have an eclipse this month. We have a very powerful new moon. We have Jupiter and Pluto conjunct, meaning they're sitting right next to each other for almost 2 weeks within 1 degree. It's really going to transform our beliefs and our beliefs about people, places, dynamics, our world. Foreign ideas could come in that we never had before that seem now obvious and real. Because the Spider represents for me relationships. It talks about creative projects, but once that bug, when the fly gets in the web, it doesn't come out. And this is where I feel like for Aquarius, you may be finding that the relationship you want really does stick as you're able to put the old illusions behind you and step into a new light that says, wow, I was participating in that journey of disruption in my love life. because my focus was mostly on what was happening, what had happened, versus what could happen moving forward. Okay, let's go on to our final sign, Pisces. Your ruler is moving forward in your sign. It has been in your sign for a while, but it'll be nice when it moves forward. All right. Pisces sun, rising and moon. What does November 2020 hold for you? Heavenly Horoscopes by Teri. All right. Our first angel is Ariel. The second is Rosetta. The third is Oceana. And the final is Indriel. Your ruling planet is Neptune, a Jupiter in ancient times, which is super powerful in and of itself. But Neptune is a very spiritual planet. It's egoless in many ways, which can be a challenge if it's out of balance. But here it looks like you're really going to connect into the higher vibrations of that dynamic this month, which is going to set a tone. So Ariel is being joined by the movement card. Rosetta is being joined by the frog. Oceana is being joined by the owl. And Indriel is being joined by the burden card. Okay. And I'm just going to pull one clarification. Okay. So for my Pisces, Ariel talks about psychic and spiritual experiences changing the way you view yourself and others, and your life in general. And here's the movement card. This month, there are many astrological dynamics that are going to really unearth old beliefs that are no longer applicable to a new dynamic, old structures that don't apply to the way the world has evolved with our technology and our own evolution as a species. And I kind of want to go straight to the idea of Black Lives Matter. You know, it's kind of stale to judge people just by their skin color or by their socioeconomic dynamic. And I feel like Pisces represents the highest vibrations of that spiritual dynamic. So you're moving forward to represent, because you're cleaning something up from long ago. You're cleaning up a dynamic that is, I want to put it this way. It feels like the frog is offering you an opportunity to really jump from one lily pad to another, meaning you're able to see the wisdom of challenge, the wisdom of a contrasting experience, because it's anchored you more into what you want. And some of that may be less material and more spiritual and emotional, because Oceana in the angel's advice is saying to take action. You're in touch with your truth, and that action is really being able to decipher what is true for you and what isn't, where you may have been deceiving yourself because you were measuring yourself by somebody else's yardstick. So many decisions that I've made in my life, I thought I was making for myself. And then when I really looked deeper, I realized I was making it for approval of somebody else. Will you like me more if I'm wearing this kind of jeans? Or if I shoot my face up with this? Or I do this or that? And as I've aged and become more actualized in who I am, I've become less invested in that. Because Indriel is saying, for Pisces, shine your light. The earth needs you to shine your light. And sometimes it's hard for you because, again, you're represented by Neptune. You represent water. And you know, when I pour my lemon water into this cup, it takes this form. But when I pour it into a champagne cup, it takes a different form. So sometimes it can be a burden for you to do that. But when you connect with spirit, when you connect with your higher self and God and the angels and those that are watching over you, the movement comes more easily as you take your rightful place in the law of allowing. The queen here is representing an energy of relaxed reception for me. And I'm just going to repeat, because I don't know if you guys just go to the timestamps, but the law of attraction is extremely powerful. Whether we realize it or not, we're attracting experiences and co-creating all the time. But the big nugget is the law of allowing, being aware enough, being cognizant enough, being a co-creator enough to know that it's not just attracting something, but allowing it in. So when spirit brings you an opportunity that brings a certain amount of risk. If I pursue this dynamic towards my dream, I may have to give up my day job or a part of my day job or a part of what I feel is secure. But that security is really a golden noose tethering me to a limited dynamic. So for the month of November 2020, I believe that Pisces is going to have a lot of spiritual epiphanies and movement and truths coming to the surface that reveal where you have tethered yourself to other dynamics, to dynamics for other people's approval. And I don't think you're going to take them on, but rather take on yourself and maybe allow yourself to clip some of those. And in doing so, I think you're going to have a more receptive experience moving forward. We have an eclipse at the end of this month. It'll be the first in eclipse season for the end of the year. And it's very powerful in the idea that it's going to transform the way we perceive things, the way we communicate with ourselves, the information that comes to the surface this month. So be mindful of that. All right, that's it for this month. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and empowerment coach. And every month I do heavenly horoscopes by sun sign. I also do pick a card readings every weekly. And if you'd like to get a personal reading with me, my information is in the description below. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and please comment. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you next week with our pick a card reading, and next month, see what happens for December 2020. Have a wonderful month, everybody. Bye-bye.